hello, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Hi, happy Sunday. My name is Day. I'm going to be your host for our Instagram Live today with Odo Dance Competition. And our special guest, Miss Jillian Page. Hi, boo.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Jillian Hayes or Jillian Levine. I have a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in sports psychology, and that's why I'm here today to help share the importance of mental performance in dance.
Yes, yes, and yes. So every Sunday, we have these lives where I come on with somebody in the dance community, either a parent, dancer, judge, whatever have you. In all the different sectors, we talk about other ways that we can kind of get connected, learn more about our craft, how we can get more involved in other areas, maybe in competition, art sector, or whatever, and just kind of get real perspectives from different people studying the same thing. So, yeah, before we dive in, just tell us some more about yourself. You got your degrees, you're a teacher. Where are you located? What styles do you teach, and what kind of inspires you these days?
Yeah, I am located in South Florida. I just moved back here. This is hometown, so excited to be back. I specialize in hip hop teaching and I work with a youth dance team. And then I also do mental performance consulting work, which is working with multiple dance teams, other people who play sports, any type of athlete on their mental performance.
Wow. That feels like a rarity, like not very common that people get to do that kind of work.
Yeah, it's definitely a newer field, sports psychology, and just having someone like a strength and conditioning coach come in, but a mental performance coach. And it is newer, and a lot of times coaches aren't as open to it. But, with the new generations, the new coaches coming in, it is definitely something you are going to start seeing more of.
Definitely. And what drew you to not only study dance, but also bring in that psychology practice as well?
Yeah, I was, as a dancer, someone who was always very nervous or was in a company that I was dancing 7 days a week and having performances and stepping on stage. And I was training so hard physically, but no one was teaching me how to calm my nerves, how to work on my confidence, right? We were working on strength and technique, but what about how to control my emotions when maybe I don't make a part or an audition, how to be resilient, how to keep going. So I started looking into when I was in my bachelor's, in my undergrad, started looking into what next to that. And I found sports psychology, and I was able to go get my master's at Florida State University and learn all about all these tools that you can use, and was able to intern for a dance team, a basketball team, a tennis team, and really connect the sport and the physical training with the mental training.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Love that. And so as you kind of segued in, our topic today is mental health and dance. And I've got a couple questions for you. And my first one is, why is mental performance just as important as physical training in dance? You were saying this as like kind of your experience for yourself. Why is it important for others as well?
Right. So for me, I think of it when you ask someone, how much of a mental challenge is this for you in any type of sport? A lot of times they say, oh, it's more mental than physical, but we're never training that mental part. We always just continuously do drills and drills and drills, but that's all physical. Mental, we're helping with stepping on stage, right? How are you stepping on stage if you have stage fright? How do you get over that? You're not just being pushed on stage. That may help some people, but not always. That doesn't work for everyone, right? It's building this toolbox, and really the importance of stepping in a room and feeling confident. Dance is one of the only arts or sports, however you define dance, that is constantly looking at themselves in the mirror. You are constantly being self-observed and also looking at a room full of dancers. One of the only sports or arts that constantly does that. So you're constantly putting judgment on yourself or possibly feeling judgment from others. But how do we control those emotions? How do we look over that? What are we doing to build the confidence in yourself? And that's where I think mental performance is so powerful, because those are things you can train with the right tool and the right practicing. just like if you were practicing any type of technique or skill.
Right. I mean, it's interesting, right? Because a lot of dancers will start at like the age of like 2, 3 in these like really intense styles like ballet that can often make a person feel silent sometimes. Like you just have to come, you get it done, and that's it. And so like this kind of like self check in of like, what do I need out of the dance space? Like, how do I actually start asking myself those questions?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I always talk to my dancers a lot about what is in my control and what's not in my control. There's many times you can't do a lot about certain things, right? What you're wearing to class, if that's something that's mandatory, even that's not something you can change, right? The type of dance you're doing if you're in a certain class, you can't change that. Those are things you can't control. But what is in your control, right? Saying daily affirmations on your about when you're in your outfit, like, hey, yeah, I do look good. Even if you don't feel good at that moment, if you can say those things to ourselves, eventually we're adding and we're believing those things because they're true, right? Or maybe finding little things that you do love about class, even if it's not your favorite. So what is in your control and how can we focus on those things, then continuously focusing on what's not in our control.
Hmm. Do you recommend daily exercises or routines to dancers outside of affirmations that might help with this?
Yes, I think pre-performance routines. So coming up with something, let's say you always do before a full out, right? So you're practicing your pre-performance routine before you do a full out. And then when you get to a competition or a performance, you do the same routine there, the same pre-performance routine before you step on stage. That's helping your body lock in, helping you shift your focus. That is a great way. Breathing exercises, right? There's something called box breathing a lot of people know about, but we know about it, but we don't practice it. We don't do it, where we're holding our breath in for 2 counts. We breathe in for 2 counts, hold for 2 counts, let out for 2 counts, hold for 2 counts. Letting your body feel those breaths, bringing oxygen to your muscles. That's something you can continuously practice, because a lot of times people don't realize fear and excitement are the same physiological state in our bodies, right? Our body reacts the same way. What differentiates it is our mind. So we tell ourselves, oh, I'm feeling fear. Oh, I feel the emotion of excitement. So we can control how we then respond to those things. So like the breathing, if we're feeling a lot of fear, maybe we need to calm down. Maybe we're so excited, we need to take a second to calm down. Breathing can help. Or maybe we need to hype ourselves up. Do you have a playlist you listen to? A playlist that you always know is going to work, right? Creating that and listening to it before performances or class. Those pre-performance routines, breathing, visualization. Are you able to close your eyes and see your whole routine, right? If not, how can we get to do that? Can we start practicing picturing ourselves either on a stage, in our audition room, so it becomes familiar, where it's like when you step into that audition room, you've already been there before in your mind. So it's not new, it's not uncomfortable because you feel familiar in that space. So I definitely recommend those exercises, practicing just as much as you would practice physically, practicing mentally as well.
And even for maybe like, let's say somebody that's never tried dance before, I know the season's just getting started, and maybe there's somebody on here who's like really wanting to try dance for the first time. What are some things like, or maybe exercises that we can give them to maybe calm their nerves, coming and trying a new style or a new place?
Yeah, I would definitely think of setting a goal. I think goals are super important. And a lot of times, right, we say, oh, new year, new goal. But when do you ever go back to that goal and look at it again? Right? So starting with small goals, a goal of, if you've never danced before, your goal can be just step foot in the dance room, right? And you complete that, you're already checking the goal off with giving yourself the confidence. I can do another goal. I can complete another goal and achieve another goal. So starting with small goals, I think, is a really good way to, with a new dancer, to get them started in the dance room and start feeling confident. Because those are, if we start big, right, and let's say you're like, I want to be picked sector spot, and it's your first time in a room and you don't get that right away, to you're making a mistake. You feel judged. you're automatically going to start shutting down because maybe your goal was too big. And we can start with a smart goal of just starting small, maybe stepping in the room or moving yourself to the front when learning choreography, right? Even talking to a friend. Or if you're someone who has been dancing for a while and it's starting to become more stressful, maybe your goal for the class, your intention for a class is to just have fun. And you're really focusing on those things.
I love that. Okay. I feel like you got your little fan base here. Like, they're cheering you on. You should be a motivational speaker, Jillian, one day.
Okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
What exactly? One of these days. I have 2 more questions for you, and then we're actually going to open it up to the audience to ask you some things and see what they're curious about. In your experience, what separates dancers who are mentally strong from those who struggle? And how can dancers build that resilience?
Yeah, I think a mentally strong dancer is someone who can bounce back. Yeah, it's so much of they can have challenges thrown their way. They may not always go the way they want, but are they coming back and trying harder? Or are they letting it tear them apart, right? Trying to be a mentally strong dancer is mentally tough. And in that sense, I mean, they're learning from their setbacks and then coming back even harder. They're not letting them, I think I can't do this anymore, right? They're using the tools. So if the tool is maybe re-stitching our mindset, they know how to do that. Or they're going to get some help to do that, right? They come to a mental performance consultant and they say, they understand their emotion. I'm having a really tough time. I need to figure out how I can redirect this situation. So a mentally strong dancer is mentally tough in the way that they can recognize what they need and then figure out how to use their toolbox that they have to kind of go after the next challenge and bounce back from it. And I think that's the difference of maybe someone who is not as mentally strong yet is they let those mistakes or judgments eat away at them where they start losing themselves instead of building themselves back up.
Mm-hmm. And I think that makes me want to reword it to, instead of saying mentally strong, like mentally resilient. Because then, just on the flip side, that doesn't mean that you're mentally weak because you're not there yet. You know, like there are certain practices and things that have to be in place in order for you to be resilient and strong, you know, mentally to endure certain things.
100%. It's just like in dance when you teach a skill, right? If it's your first week of class or you trying a new skill, you're not gonna ace it right away. You keep practicing at it. So someone who is mentally resilient or mentally tough or strong, they are practicing. Also mentally, they're practicing their breathing, their visualization. They're using all their tools consistently, like they would if they were practicing a skill. They would do it consistently, right? Until you get your leg perfectly straight in the air or whatever it is. They're continuously practicing just like they would physically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on, fire emoji. Right. And on the flip side of that, I also feel like this mental, I'll call it like mental weaknesses or like even mental blocks per se. And, you know, I feel like they're most of the time coming from these like insecurities or things that we just like, I'll say for myself, like haven't necessarily been able to confront or get over yet. And so there's that too. Like, what are some ways that maybe you have became mentally resilient? And what are some things that you've gotten over to be able to get to this point?
Yeah, I think one of those things is public speaking. A big thing. I wanted to become a choreographer, but I had to learn how to be confident in my choreo, right? I was so scared of what are people going to think of my choreography? Are they going to hate it? Are they going to love it? Or coming on here, not not everyone understands mental performance yet and the importance of it, and I'm here advocating for it. And that makes me nervous, right? Stepping up here, am I saying the right things? Am I stumbling on my words? But before I came on here, I did my breathing exercises. I pictured myself, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to say those things? Okay. And for me, I'm not looking at the big picture right now, right? So for me, what helps me is it's me, you in a conversation, right? Everyone else is not there, right? Helps me look at a smaller picture. So what every dancer or individual is going to have different ways of what helps them, right? It's not a one skill fits everybody. Breathing may not work for you. Maybe it doesn't at all. Maybe you have to listen to calm music that calms you down. But for me, breathing really does work. Or journaling, right? After dance, am I journaling how it went? For choreo, I like to video and watch back and say, wow, I taught that. Yeah, that was good. Hearing the feedback. Oh, wait, I could do that, right? And then looking back at the before and saying, well, why was I my biggest hater? I didn't even step in the room and I was closing myself out of it.
That part.
Wow. So those affirmations of, yeah, I can do it. I'm going to go in there and kill it. Even though sometimes it's silly and funny and you're like, why am I talking to myself? But it works and it empowers you. So those affirmations, that breathing, journaling, setting goals, it has really helped me continue on.
I'm thinking what I'm getting from this, like, overall, like, arching theme of this conversation is, like, also these things take time, you know, like, it's taken a really long time and patience to be able to sit with yourself and to say, like, these are the real things that I need in order to get to these goals that I want to reach.
100%.
Yeah.
Because before I graduated this past May with my master's in sports psychology, so that was it, and it was 2 years, right, that I was really focusing in and finding my passion for this, and really finding my passion in dance with mental performance being what I want to really like focus on, do my research on dance and mental performance, as opposed to like all sports, right? I really wanted to dig in, but I didn't know about this until I stepped into the program and I was like, whoa, there's so many things I could have been doing, but I'm going to start now because I didn't know about them. And so my big thing is, if we can teach the youth now, when they get older and the pressure continues to build, they already know how to tackle it.
That's awesome. And now the youth can speak, opening it up to the audience. What do we want to know? What didn't get answered? What are some other things that you want to know from Jillian? Either dance related, mental health related, both. People were shy last week, so let's hope that those that came on to hear Jillian on speak up. I think I'll have one more just in case, but let me double check my notes.
I also just want to mention, because we've been saying a lot, mental health and mental performance are very different, right? Mental health, we talked about maybe eating disorders, anxiety. Mental performance, or the way I tackle mental performance, is more anything that deals with performance in the sense of setting goals, being nervous to step on stage. So I am not qualified to answer anything that goes along with more mental health rather than mental performance. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you for that correction. No, that was actually very insightful, because I think that people will interchange the two and not really know. So that was very helpful. Thank you. Well, on that note, how can mental performance training help with things like stage fright, nerves, pressure during comps? You kind of already touched on this with how breathing exercises influence things, but maybe even beyond that, like as a human being, like how can mental performance training really enhance these skills on stage and off?
Yeah, of course. Of course, breathing, like we've mentioned, and there's so many other different types of breathing, finding what works for you. But really putting yourself, and this is where visualization comes in. How are you how are you going to perfect being on stage if you've never been on one? Or performing in front of people if you've never performed in front of people and you've only watched yourself in class, right? So you've practicing those type of things, like getting your family. Sometimes it's the most awkward, in my opinion, to dance in front of people I know rather than a whole crowd of strangers, right? If you put my family in front of me, I'm gonna be so nervous. But I could go out and a bunch of strangers, I'll be okay. So practicing that of putting my family in front of me and then dancing for them. Or before going on stage, have you practiced what you do right before? Or are you changing it every time where you're adding something unfamiliar to yourself? And that goes along with anything before you present in school. How are you preparing? Because it's the same way that you can take it to dance, right? Are you practicing before? Are you writing down your goals? What are your intentions when you step on stage? And those things all transfer to different parts of your life because everything is almost like a performance, right? You're performing when you're in school. You're trying to get your best grades possible. That's a performance, right? You're looking at your performance in really anything you do. So these tools, you can build a whole toolbox, and there's so much more than just the breathing, the visualization, the goals. There's a whole thing. I just wanted to throw a few at you. This not overwhelmed with all the skills that you can learn. But those are some of the big ones that I think in dance can definitely help the most before you step on stage, right? Those nerves, again, your body doesn't know until you give it a label. Oh, I'm scared. Okay, now you're gonna psych yourself out because you keep telling yourself, I'm scared. I'm scared to step on stage. What if I do this? Why are we thinking of all those negatives? Well, why don't we think of, I learned a whole dance. I know I can go out there and confidently perform it. I've put in the work of practicing and going to rehearsals. I've worked with my team for so long if you're in a group dance. So all those things, they transfer all over when it comes to performance, but really the focus of what is your intention when stepping on stage? And from there, you can look at what works best for my body, right? Is it journaling before? Is it maybe talking to somebody, being able to calm you down? Or do you need to step away and put in headphones and lock in? There's different ways, right? Different situations you are able to control and put yourself in, right? You can't control if you have to stand backstage before your dance, right? Usually you're told, okay, go backstage. So now you're staring at your competitor possibly. But what if you turned around, right? Is staring at your competitor makes you so nervous. Why are you still staring at them, right? You're putting yourself in that situation when you can turn around, right? You can distract yourself and redirect your focus. So I think there's so many different tools that you can learn to really help with those nerves and the stage fright. And again, it's practice. You're not going to be able to do one breathing exercise and say, okay, that's good. But can you come back, even if it didn't work the first time, and continue to do those breathing exercises until one day you're like, oh, okay, this works. I could do this. So just like that it's that practice, it's that determination of I'm gonna get this, just like you would do physically. It's on the same level, physical and mental.
That's awesome. To close this out, Jillian, tell us, like, how are you going into the year this year? What are some things that are inspiring you? What are some things that last year you learned from that you're gonna just overcome this year? And any last words you kind of want to leave us with?
Yeah. I think a big thing of mine is setting SMART goals. And when I say SMART goals, I mean literally an acronym of SMART, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relative to what I'm doing, and timely, right? I'm setting goals and then within that goal, my goal is to go back and look at my goals, right? I'm not just writing them down and never looking at them again. I'm making steps, and now my goal is to complete each step to get to that bigger goal. So really this year, I want to set those goals, look back at them, and as I'm doing that, I will those goals are to advocate more for mental performance. Can I put myself in rooms that maybe I thought I couldn't, but I never even tried, right? I want to be able to push myself, just like everyone wants to push themselves in dance. I'm doing the same thing, setting my goals, working on perfecting my toolbox, that I can go ahead and teach everyone else how to build their own toolbox. And I think what really has inspired me is watching for years all these dancers stop dancing because they were burnt out, but no one knew how to build themselves up again, where the burnout didn't completely take dance away from them.
Right.
And I've seen that so much of, I just don't want to dance anymore. I can't. My body can't take it. My mind can't take it anymore. And I think that's really inspired me, because I've had those moments of, I don't know if I want to do dance anymore, right? But I love it, but I don't know if I can. And I think finding mental performance and really working on my mind has helped me continuously step back into the room.
Yeah. You've gotten real about what can keep you sustained in this practice.
Yes.
And that's
For sure.
Yeah. That's something that doesn't come overnight.
No, practice.
Okay. And even to myself, yeah, I feel that. Like, I still feel like I'm trying to step into that place of, like, where I can say, like, no, it doesn't matter, or yes, I can.
Exactly, because you can. Because you can.
Because you can. Well, everybody, finger claps. Love for Jillian. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your knowledge, and everything that you do. We'll be seeing you for the next season on Oro Tour.
Yes, you will. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this next season with Oro, and I'm excited to see everyone else bring on the line on Sundays.
Yes. Couple things before we close it out. Did y'all know that we have an Apple Podcast now? Oro is way too bougie for me. Plus, we have a Spotify account. So, get on our Instagram, at that podcast. Catch up with us every Sunday. See some new guests. Learn some new things. We have so many exciting new topics coming up this month. So, check us out. Jillian, again, thank you so much.
Lights go low, the stage is set. Oh, yeah. Golden glitter, can't forget. Dancers move, they own the night. Oro dance competition, feel the light.